Good morning, everyone. There are actually some faces here I don't recognize, so we'll just do it the right way. Those who've heard this before, you know the drill. I am Janette. This is my husband, Mirko. We co-direct at Lake of the Trees Bible Camp, and so we do it together, and we're just as busy, so that's fun. And then I'm going to introduce the team here, but first, we also have a food service manager, Alyssa, and her daughter, Chloe. They're not here with us today. And Shayla, who is our operations assistant and our waterfront director. We've given them the day off. We have done a lot of churches, and we were busy this weekend with a gala, and Alyssa cooked so much dessert that I think now we should have brought it here. So first off, just to share a little bit about what's going on at camp. It's busy. We have just started, 2 weeks ago, we started Quest Camp, which was a weekend with some kids out. And for now, until the end of the September long weekend, we are now busy every weekend. And so please be praying for us. But that's really exciting because the calendar's filled up with lots of events. Yes, Yayina keeps taking all of my stuff. Like, okay, so ladies, I canceled the retreat last year. It will not be canceled this year. We have booked our speaker and our musician. We have Laura Lee Thiessen coming, who writes and plays music with Brian Dirksen with the Vineyard stuff. So we have wonderful, and my friend Leslie coming to speak. And so please sign up, come. If you don't know how to use a computer and you'd rather just not use the computer, can you please talk to Melody, my lovely office person, and just connect with her after the service. Men, we also have a guy named Dale Albertson that's speaking for you. He's pretty cool, and we have some fun things planned. If not tons of guys show up, being men, you'll probably end up building something, because that's just what you do. So both events have food. So you should come anyways. You don't have to cook or do dishes. And so please come join us. Everything is online to register for. That's our next push. We just finished our gala night. Were you going to say something about that? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to give it over to Mirko.
Awesome. So it was night before last. So Friday night we had our fundraiser gala dessert. You missed out. Yeah. The dessert was amazing. The live piano music was amazing, and decorations and everything. We had a great time. So next time we do it, make sure you come. It's a ton of fun. But you know what? God has been so faithful to camp. We raised more than enough for the projects that we're doing right now. The only project that still needs to come in will be the student summer gift, which is usually about $50,000 that we need to raise. $15,000 came in towards that, which is amazing. So by the end of summer, we need to raise kind of another $35,000, so we can give all of our students that come in the summer to serve, give them something, right? At the end, give them a gift. Come back to me after. I'm going to put you on next.
As Janette mentioned, hi, I'm Melody. I am the office administrator here at Lake of the Trees. So if you have any questions regarding registration or you need help, I'm the person you talk to. I'm the one that answers emails and phones. So hello, face to the name. I am recently married. My husband is just over there within the past 4 months, and we've jumped into missionarying. So I'm also the newest missionary here at Lake of the Trees Bible Camp. Something that we are always needing, like Yanina said, is volunteers through the summer, and also your guys' prayer support. So if you guys are thinking I think I can volunteer here, whether in fishing or crafting skill or crocheting or knitting or leading a group or cabin leading, come talk to us. We would love to put you in somewhere and get you a part of our team. As for myself, I would really appreciate your guys' support in prayer as well as financially as we step into this role, because this is new and scary and a lot of fun. So I'll pass it on to the facilities director.
Hi, I'm Randy. I was here a year ago, which is kind of weird because it seems like it was about a week ago. But yeah, it's a full year. So anyways, lots gone on. We've done a lot of projects, and the list still just never ends. But yeah, it's been a great year. We've just finished a cabin for Melody and Nathan to come and live at, and we're doing some projects. We're fixing the blob tower. I don't know if you saw the video. It's the tower that's out in the lake, and you jump off it, and jump onto the blob and knock people into the water and stuff. It's a lot of fun. So we're working on that, and then doing some climbing wall repairs, because I think it's been standing there since the 80s or since the 90s. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff that we're doing repairs on. So we're looking for people that might want to come out and help with that sort of stuff. And yeah, we've been raising some support for that as well. And yeah, and I also have been working as the work crew boss. I was up pretty late last night, sorry. Yeah, and so we also take care of the work crew bosses that we get about 23 kids come out for 4 weeks, and or 3 weeks? 3 weeks? 3 weeks, and they help with camp. They help do all the program stuff and get stuff set up and do all the cleanup and all that. So Jess is gonna talk about that.
Yeah, are we full for work crew boss ladies? Okay, so we need work crew bosses. So if you guys are familiar with the work crew program, youth ages 13 to 15? 13 to 15 come for 3 weeks at a time, and we need some work crew bosses to help manage those teams. So if you guys know of any youth 18 or up that would like to give 3 weeks at a time to help disciple these youth, that would be amazing. It's teaching them to clean and to help disciple them and grow their relationship with Jesus, whether they want one or have one, or are growing that. So yeah, if you guys know any youth that could help out with that, we need that. It's an amazing program. It's like camp times 3 weeks. It's a really powerful ministry. We've seen youth come that don't want a relationship with Jesus at all, go to being so excited, and on one of the last nights, they're like, I want to do it. I want to give my life to Jesus. So it's been amazing. It's been really, really, really neat to see that growth. Yeah, so I think that's all I need to share.
All right. So growth, our team is growing, camp is growing. And so next month, officially, Emma who is known as Chuckles to Locks to the Kids, is joining the team full-time as a year-round program director. And so I am now phased out of program, which is really exciting, but some days I really miss it. And so Emma's joining our team as well. So we are massive, which is great. We have a big problem at camp. We don't know where to put people. So just keep praying for us. We're really excited about that extension as well with everyone else on site. And right now, like if you're thinking about trying to get kids to camp or whatever, we're about half full already. So, and Jess was talking about needing work crew bosses. Well, the girls are full for both months. There's still room for guys who want to come and learn. I think one of the biggest perks that parents find is the kids learn how to clean a toilet and mop in a figure eight. And they like to enforce that when they get back home. So if you just need your kids to learn some good house duty skills, we will help with that. Because we make it fun, and so then, yeah, it's not you. We'll save you the grief. And so Mirko and I are really excited about what we're doing and what's coming up at camp. And so we just need your continual support. Do you have anything else you want to say?
We need a lifeguard. Who is a lifeguard? Anybody here is a lifeguard? I know Marley, they're gone now. But we need lifeguards. So if you know of a lifeguard, or if you know somebody that's like almost there, please send us a lifeguard, because Shayla right now at this point is our only lifeguard for the summer. So that's a big need for the summer. Come out to the men's retreat. Come out to the women's retreat. Come out and help in the summer. We want to see you there. Get involved. We're still looking as well for a weekend summer, so throughout the summer, a weekend relief cook. So if you're like, I can come and I can cook for like 40 people, I can do that. 60? Never mind. 60. Keep it at 40. Makes it nice. And then you surprise them. No, but like if you're like, hey, I could give a weekend and I could cook some food that some people could eat, or Alyssa will give you everything that you need. But that would be amazing. We're looking for that as well, so Alyssa can get a break on the weekends. God is good, isn't he? Yeah, I want to share a quick story from the video that goes on. So we all saw Richard and Lorraine, right, on the video, the older couple. They were the ones that him with 3 other guys from Lillooet Gospel Chapel, they snowshoed in and found the site that we're on at Lake of the Trees. And so it was just amazing to finally get some video of him as his memory's starting to go. He's getting older, and just get this video, an interview with him, just to get some of these stories. As we were leaving a few weeks ago when we videoed this down in Lillooet, Lorraine was sharing with Liz, another elderly lady that had served with her at the beginning, and they were telling me stories, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the road was so bad, like we couldn't get the cars kept getting stuck, but back then the ladies had to wear skirts. There was no pants allowed. Skirts and pantyhose is what they said. And so we were out there, they said, with our skirts and pantyhoses, and we were pushing the cars through the mud ruts to get them out, to get them there, right? Just so that they could get and do summer camp. That's the legacy, 55 years now, that we get to carry on. And it is such an honor. We've been there 10 years now. And in a month, we'll be exactly a month actually living there. It will be 10 years living there. And it's just a privilege to see God work and God move and to be part of this ministry. And we want you to be able to be part of it too. So if you're like, anyway, just let us know. Come talk to us. We'd love to have you out. Thanks for having us here today. We love you guys.
Give it up for my team. Take over. All right. Good morning. Yes, it is me up here this morning, much to my surprise. But I feel like I have a word for you. This church has a huge impact on us at camp. And as I say some things today, I want you to take it for face value and understand that I sincerely mean it. You guys, a lot of our churches, it's not that we just come visit you and then we go home and we forget. No, you kind of nag in the back of our brains all summer long, and we remember you and nag in the way that you guys keep providing in ways that we can't forget you. But God continually taps on our heart or on our brains to remember who you are so that we can be thankful and pray for you. And I'm one of those people, I usually talk to kids. So I love junior age. I love them because they're full of the age of discovery. They're excited about anything I say or tell them because they're like, oh, that sounds fun. I've never heard that before. And then you start getting into the preteen age and they're too cool to know about this, or they already know that. And then you get to teenagers and they're like, you can't teach me anything new. And then you get to adults and you're like, well, you're adults. So my favorite age group is kids, hence why I work at camp. They're the age group I love to talk to. Please note that as I get excited, I do speed up in my speaking. That is just a default of mine. If I went back to school today, they would probably diagnose me with something. There's a couple of letters in there. No, I was just raised that I was a busy child. And I always had so much to say. And that would go for my camp name. It's Chatter. So by the end of this, you'll be like, that's fitting for her. So I thought about it, and I was like, Lord, what do I want to share with these? And part of it is it's a church Sunday. Mirko comes in the off season, and he's given passages from the Bible to preach about, or he's given a topic at other churches. And we come here, and they're like, do whatever you want. And I'm like, great. Have you seen how big the book is? And so I decided, and I just kind of prayed about it, and I have some favorite verses in the Bible, and one of them right now, it's in Philippians chapter 1. And I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to paraphrase a little, and you're going to see why. And then I'm going to go on with the message. Dear CCC in WL of BC. Do you realize how weird that sounds? Can you imagine in a few hundred years somebody read that? Dear CCC of WL of BC. Caribou Community Church, Williams Lake, BC, just in case some of you aren't following. I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it to completion until the day of Christ. That is my heart for you. Thank you. I struggle with the word thank you because it's so blah. We use it. We're Canadians. It's kind of like sorry. You open a door for somebody wrong. Sorry. You step in front of somebody. Sorry. Somebody does something for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you's not enough. So I looked up thank you. The word actually means it's an abundance of an overflowing amount of gratitude towards you. And you guys have blown us out of the water. I do think about you all the time. It started 5 or 6 years ago when we found out that we weren't able to we weren't allowed to apply for government student grants anymore. Part of that was because our ministry didn't feel like we could sign all the boxes and the check marks that they wanted us to adhere by. And we didn't want to be stuck in that box. And I remember that year when the $20,000 check came in from this church alone for my students. And that day I thought to myself, I went, but they're so small. I don't understand. And then we continued on, and over the years, I've been talking with Clarice, and we've been talking about, you guys want to go in partnership with us. What can we do year round? And I'm like, I'm so busy already, but yes. And then just recently, you guys decided to come together as a church body, and you decided to support our missionaries, and one family in particular, to an amount that nobody in our ministry has ever heard of. And I go, wow. And it's with joy. And I want to affirm you and say to you, well done. You guys, the generosity that comes out of this church is only being matched by our Little Wet Gospel Church, which is our founding church. They too are tiny in numbers and provide amounts of money for camperships and scholarships and funding that it doesn't even make sense. If you counted the heads in the congregation and you know that they're all retired, it doesn't make sense. But it does with you. You're in the same position. I come here this morning, I'm like, wow, I think I need to have a little more faith. And so just like Paul, as he's writing back to this church in Philippi, he's saying, I thank you for your partnership in the gospel. And I want to share this morning about what gospel that you're actually participating in, because maybe you don't understand how we present the gospel to children in this generation. And I wanted you to be encouraged and to continue to support us. And even if you took all the finances away, your prayer support and your love for the camp is enough for me. I think one of my favorite things that you guys do is I don't know if you're doing it again this year, but for years you guys would have the kids memorize scripture. And each scripture that they memorized was money off of their camp. Good job, faithful servants. Not many churches teach children scripture anymore or memorize it. They hand them a Bible like this and they go, okay, that's nice. Do I have to read it all today? That's what happens. I think you guys are going to get to heaven one day and you're going to be looking around and Jesus is going to come up to you and he goes, hey, come here. Look, come here. And you're going to be like, what? Because a lot of you are introverts. So you're going to be like, people. Maybe you'll be like that in heaven. People. Lord, not large crowds. But he's going to say, this person right here has a story for you. And it's going to be the story about how they came to camp for the very first time on a campership from this church. Or that it was your tithes and offering. Like sometimes you guys put money in the pot and you trust your leadership to deal it out. But the Lord knows you gave it. He knows if you gave $1, because $1 is the same amount as $1,000 in the Lord's eyes when it comes to this kind of giving. And I think you guys are going to be wowed out the door at how much God has done on your behalf. Many people in church don't realize that their prayers matter that much, but they matter to us. And we get to live and breathe it in a tiny bubble for about 3 months. If you all could experience what we experienced in those 3 months, I think it would have changed your life forever. Because the rest of this year, outside of the summer, we too are just like you. It's the day in, day out. Oh man, I got to get up for work this morning. Do I really have to go to the office? I don't want to return phone calls. Can they stop emailing me? We do not live in the bubble year round. We are real like the rest of you. But the summer has a special place. The summer is the place where we get to introduce children to Jesus for the first time. And this morning I want to share about camping Jesus. I'll understand in a minute. By the way, this is not a doctrine or theology, so shh, don't film anything. This is my way that we present children. And to start, I'm going to start with my favorite video from The Chosen. If you've seen it, sorry, but this is how I think Jesus interacts with my kids.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives forth bread from this earth. And I pray that if there are ever 2 children who come visit my home here, that you will give them the courage
Stay.
to say shalom,
Stay.
so that they will know they do not have to remain in hiding.
He's a good man. Stay.
Amen.
We need to go. Stay. We are going to stay.
What's that sound I hear? Sheep don't sound like that. No, that's definitely not sheep. Maybe a rooster? Greetings, children. You know, it is not safe for a child to wander from their home. You never know if there are bad men around. You were wise to bring your friend this time.
Joshua.
Shalom, Joshua. I admire your bravery to come here. You are a good friend. Oh, don't worry. I'm not a bad man.
See? I know it.
You are free to stay for a bit, but I'm afraid I have some work to do.
Okay.
And thank you for not taking any food yesterday.
See? I know it. So, what are you doing here?
I'm visiting for a time.
Where are you from?
Nazareth.
What is that wood for?
I'm building something.
Are you a carpenter?
Sometimes, but I'm a craftsman. I build all kinds of things.
So, why don't you live in a house?
I travel a lot.
How do you make money? Happy. Just asking him how he makes money. I know, you shouldn't.
It's okay. I don't make money when I travel. So for now, I build things and trade them for my food and clothing.
What is that?
Ah, this is going to be a lock and key.
Joshua, ask him questions. He's nice. No, thank you. What else will you build?
Wealthy people love decorations and toys for their children.
My family isn't wealthy.
Many times that's better.
I don't know about that.
You will.
My mom made me this.
Oh, what's her name?
Sarah.
Very pretty.
Okay, time to go home. Bye.
That's it. All right. If you've never seen The Chosen, it's one of my favorite series. I watch The Chosen not as a doctrine or biblically correct. I watch it, though, to give me a visualization of how Jesus might have actually been and interacted with people. And that's one of my favorite scenes because it really messes with a lot of Christians who don't think that Jesus could be that fun. Because the Jesus I know makes animal farting noises. He would get down on his knees, and I would say to you, like, you've all interacted with babies and children. So your children, your grandchildren, nieces and nephews, kids' friends, they come over their babies. The baby goes, what do we do? They pick up an animal, you go, rawr. Pick up a car, vroom. Why would we think that Jesus was any different? And The Chosen just shows over a couple of series that episode is actually, it's about the children, let the little children come. And it's him actually interacting with the children. And one of the other scenes is he's sitting down with them and he's talking to them and asking them what they learned. And they're learning scripture and he has them recite it, but he's paying attention to them. Jesus in those days knew that kids in the Roman era were not welcome. They were the least of these. Until you were 8 years old, you weren't considered a citizen and you didn't have any rights. And so up till the age of 8, children were discarded and cast aside, except for in the Israeli community, where children were highly regarded. And so Jesus comes on the scene and he starts loving children. And then in these shows, what you see is Jesus is taking time for the children. Why is that important? Why are we called to minister to children? I think the world today still kind of disregards children, and the way that we do it is with screen time. We don't raise our children like family, a lot of families out there. So we get kids who come and they've never sat at a dinner table and had a meal with their family. They've never felt like they had something to say. They're usually like shoot away, and they usually have other things to do. And so We can't teach them that Jesus is holy, sitting up there with a halo around his head going, "Come to me, my children." I wouldn't approach that. Instead, we introduce Jesus as a best friend, one that is approachable, one that laughs and makes jokes. If we're to teach children that we're made in the image of God, then we have to accept the fact that everything we do outside of sin is the image of God, which means the crazy and the fun and the sporadic and the jokes. One of the other scenes in The Chosen, the children show up again the next morning and they're standing over him when he's waking up. And they're just like staring at him. If you've ever been a cabin leader, there's nothing more scary than waking up with children in your face. Because one is like, oh no, how long have they been up for? And what happened? Or they're sleepwalking. It's scary. But in that scene, Jesus brushes his teeth and he washes his face. He's camping. And then I started thinking about it and I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. You know, Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me." Or to have the faith like a child. And I started thinking about children and I started thinking about camping and then I started thinking about Jesus again and I'm thinking, oh, I got something here. See, when I was raised in the Alliance Church. I went to Sunday school. In those days, we had Sunday school before big church service. Then we had Sunday school again. I think some of us went twice to Sunday school on Sundays. And I always imagined on the flannel graph, it just showed Jesus and his little friends walking town to town on the little green flannel graph. And I never really clued in. And then some of the old cheesy videos would show Jesus laying down with a bedroll under the sun and under the stars. And I was like, I would never want to do that. And then you watch The Chosen, and what you start seeing is my brain went, oh my word, this is camp. So Jesus gets a whole pile of his friends, and he's like, let's go somewhere. And they're like, okay. Yeah, okay, let's go. Where are we going? He's like, I think we need to go to this place and talk about Jesus. And so the friends are like, okay, I'll do that. And then they walk for hours. I can't even walk from here to Starbucks. Like, I don't know how they walked hours. And then they would get to where they're going, or along the way they would stop. And then this is where it finally hit me. They had to put up tents. They had to start a fire. They had to make food. And then the best part came. They sat together around a fire, having relationship. And I started realizing that when Jesus and his disciples were walking from town to town, that's when the relationship building with them happened. It was in those moments where they sat and they were quiet and they listened to one another. They probably joked. They probably started having inside jokes. And I started going, hey, I do that. We do that at camp. Even if we're not allowed fires, we create a propane fire. Or like in the video you saw the ones, it's a whole pile of flickering lanterns. And we set logs around it and we make a fake fire. Because I think if you've ever gone camping, you don't even need to go to children's camp to know this. If you've gone camping, what are the moments that you remember most? I think it's the sitting around the fire. I think that's what we all go camping for. There's something enticing about staring at the flames flickering. And it seems to create this atmosphere that you can start talking about anything. And then you start eating together, which apparently is one of the most intimate acts you can do with people. That's what builds churches closer together. So the fact that you guys do like a soup Sunday, like a food potluck thing, is awesome. Nothing makes people closer together than eating together or sitting together while the sun goes down and the bats come out and the stars come out. And so I think Jesus showed us how to do camping. He did it way before we even knew. I think if we all modeled that a little bit more, where we made a fire and we set aside time, we don't even need to make a fire, but we set aside time to listen to the children. You have to get them out of the busyness of the day, and you have to create quiet times and quiet moments for them to hear you, for you to hear them. The moments at camp don't come out of the crazy games we play. They don't ever show up in the dining hall. I can barely sit in there anymore with my old ears. I need earmuffs in there. When do the most amazing conversations happen with our campers? It's when that cabin leader sits with them on the steps of their cabin at like 11 o'clock at night when they're supposed to be in bed. Or it's in the back row of the fire. or it's the one kid who's wandered off, or we're down on the docks watching the meteor showers. That is the Jesus that we introduce our kids to. He's the one that shows up around a campfire. One of my favorite stories, I think many of you have heard of John Elridge, and I really like him because he describes a scene that for me, it was another one that just altered my brain chemistry, and I went, oh my word, this is the Jesus that I want to teach children. And so John Elridge wrote this book, it's called The Beautiful Outlaw, and he just described how Jesus was an outlaw in his time. Nobody liked him. He was causing trouble wherever he went. That's my kind of Jesus. But once again, it's after his resurrection. He shows up on the scene. His friends are out in a boat. And at this point, I think his disciples are his friends. I think sometimes we think that they're all like leaders in a church, but they go home after Sunday and they're not friends. No, these were Jesus' besties. And he goes down to the beach and he starts a fire first. They still don't know he's there. He starts a fire. And then he goes down to the water and he looks out at them and he's like, hey, here's the inside joke of how well he knows them. Have you tried the other side? Hardy har har. Many people don't know there's 2 times in the Bible that the disciples were told to lower their nets. The second time was after his resurrection, and it was when Jesus came down. And I think it's an inside joke of, hey, have you tried the other side? Because some of them kept fishing, but that's when Peter jumps out of the boat and he's kind of like falling in the water again. Because he's so excited his best friend is there. So they come in and they come to the campfire and they're like, they have their fish, they have to count it, and Jesus is like, there's 134. We don't have time to count the fish because right now I just want to sit with you and eat around a fire and hang out with my best friends. Is that the Jesus in your life? Is he your best friend? Is he the person that when he pulls up his tent and his campfire, are you diving out of your boat, out of your car, out of where you are, and are you going to go sit with him and hang out with him to see what he has to say? And a lot of us adults don't. And I think that's why Jesus loves children so much. Because I teach Awana. Good, I got 5 minutes. I teach Awana weekly. And I teach 2 groups, Sparks and older T&Ts. So Sparkies are the age of like grade 1 to 3. Like I said, I love them. They will answer any question. Of course, at some point I have to be like, okay, children, Jesus is not the answer today because that's the trump card. What else did God create? Not just Jesus, yeah, Jesus, but what else? And they're so free to be like, pick me, and he did this, and he did that. And they're like, some of these kids I just last week asked, like, does anyone know who Paul was before? And I had this grade 1 guy, little Jacob, start telling me the whole entire story of Saul becoming Paul. And I just sat back and I'm like, he could do my sermon for me on Sunday. He's in grade 1. But then unfortunately what happens is I get to the next age group, grade 4 to 7. And I ask the exact same questions and I do the exact same thing. And the hands are kind of like, don't pick me, but I know the answer. Or the fear of man is already starting to come in. Or there's self-doubt. It's almost like all of a sudden something happens between the little guys and the next group already that starts creating this, I don't know if that's really what I believe or that I know the answer, but I don't know if it's true. And then by the time you get to teens, they're like, sup, I know it all. And you're like, great, this is going to be a fun day. But when you take all of those kids and you put them at a camp, you put them around a campfire, you put them down on the beach in the sand, you stick them in a kayak, you take them out on a paddleboard, you take them out in a kayak full of glue stick goo, something incredible happens. There's some sort of deeper relationship that's formed in the quietness of those moments. That, church, is what you help us do. You help us make Jesus a real, tangible, living thing that they can be a part of. You're allowing us to introduce a Jesus that would go camping with them. And not only does he go camping, he also goes home with them. Does your Jesus go home with you after church on Sunday? When was the last time you went camping with Jesus? When was the last time you sat somewhere in the quiet or staring at a fire, walking a beach, being out on a lake, putting your screen aside, and hanging out with somebody that's so much like you? See, we teach that Jesus is so like us, and he is so much fun. I want you guys to see that and know that as you continue to support us, to get excited, to see why camping works, because Jesus did it first. I'm very convinced now. It should have been called camping. And Jesus and his disciples camped on their night before they went to the town. And camping was huge for me as a kid with my family. We camped a lot. And all my memories are usually in the rain. They're fishing in lightning storms. They're huddled under canopies, sharing one chocolate bar, because that's what my granddad did. He'd throw 14 grandchildren one chocolate bar and laugh eating a full one in his camper. See, early on I was taught, and so when Jesus says, go fish for men, go be fishers of men, my brain understands how fishing works. And sitting around a campfire and spending time fellowshipping together. Jesus said, let the little children come to me. Be like children, be in its simplicity, sit with him around a fire. My verse I would leave you with today is in Galatians. I love this verse. Of course, one of my little kids decided to tell me it himself. He preached it at me. I love little ones. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we don't give up. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. Don't grow weary, church. You're in the midst of a phenomenal thing that's happening at camp. You are the reason that camp happens. Your support, your financial support, your prayer support allows all of us to not have to worry about the things of the world, and it allows us to focus solely on the kids. And some days it might not feel like anything for you, and it may be no big deal, and you just do it faithfully because that's what God has called you to do. But there will be a day when you're going to stand in front of Jesus, and he's going to go, hey, look at this. Remember when you went to CCC? Remember those giving years? Those kids, that was because of you. Do not forsake the gifts. We all have different gifts. We all have different times, and we all have different seasons. So I'm going to say once again, when was the last time you activated your faith? When was the last time you got to sit and watch a child come to Jesus? Camp's there. You are welcome to come for a day visit. You know that? You're welcome to drive out for a day, check in with the office, get a visitor badge, and sit and observe God at work. It's phenomenal. It'll change your life. And while you pray for our ministry, God is just like, whoosh, intern, we're praying for you for your senior pastor. And we're wanting to pray for you. And I'm praying that the guy who comes in has just as much of a passion for missions as you. And that it's even crazier than we could imagine. And that this church would be so full that you would have to, find another building. Do not grow weary. For such a time as this is the time. It's happening because of you. And for that, thank you.